The government is starting the process to enable a 4-year term of Parliament. Any change to the 3-year term would be subject to the outcome of a binding referendum, and it could be voted on as early as next year. Zane Small has the details.
15 months ago, Labour's red reign came to an end at the 2023 election, as voters chose a national-led government.
You have reached for hope and you have voted for change.
And 15 months from now, politicians will be back in campaign mode to prepare for the 2026 election. That's what you get with a 3-year parliamentary term. But that could soon change.
Government has agreed to introduce legislation to potentially allow for a referendum on a 4-year term for Parliament.
It's something ACT leader David Seymour advocated for in opposition.
Well, look, I think we should move to a 4-year term. Our lawmaking is too rapid. Politicians don't listen enough.
Now that ACT is part of government, he hopes to make it happen.
So it's not just a case of the same old crap taking an extra year?
No, I think that you'll get much higher quality crap out of politics as a result of this.
National's coalition agreements with ACT and New Zealand First both include a commitment to supporting a 4-year term proposal through first reading. The commitments differ though, and today's announcement appeases both. The proposal is modelled on ACT's already drafted bill, and any change would be subject to a binding referendum to please New Zealand First.
I'm in favour of a 4-year term, and I think that a referendum is the appropriate way to gain the public's mandate for that kind of change.
The arguments against it have always consistently been that New Zealand doesn't have an upper house, doesn't have a Supreme Court that strikes down legislation, and so a more regular election is justified on that basis.
To increase scrutiny, a condition of ACT's bill is that to get a 4-year term, the elected government would have to agree to have a higher proportion of non-government party members on select committees. If they didn't agree to that, it would be a 3-year term.
That the combination of the two, and not even knowing before the election what type of parliament we're voting for, that just seems a recipe for confusion.
The government is open to simplifying it for the referendum.
It may well be that a much simpler arrangement is just to have a choice simply between a 3 and a 4-year term. And so we're very much open to that.
It wouldn't be the first time New Zealanders have voted on a 4-year parliamentary term. Back in 1967, voters opted to keep the status quo, with 68.1% choosing to maintain a 3-year term. Then in 1990, voters again rejected a 4-year proposal, with 69% choosing to keep 3 years. Last month, the Horizon Research poll showed 40% support for a 4-year term, with 30% undecided. So how do voters feel about it today?
I voted for 4 years, and I've never changed my opinion about that. I've always thought that 3 years was far too short.
From a student and a youth point of view, I think giving them an extra year, we can always give them a chance and see how it goes.
I think 3 years is not enough time to get things done, but didn't really like the last government, so another year kind of would have stressed me out a little bit more. So pros and cons.
Pros and cons voters will have to consider at the ballot box.
Well, OK, Zane, so how soon might a 4-year term be a reality?
Well, not for a few years. The proposal will go to a Parliament Select Committee where people will get to have their say. You heard the Justice Minister there saying it could end up being a bit more simplified. But if that legislation is passed by the end of the year, the Justice Minister said a referendum on it could happen as early as next year at the election. But if Kiwis vote in favour of it, it wouldn't come into effect until after the 2029 election. If we look at Australia, for example, the state governments there have 4-year terms, but the federal government has a 3-year term. And then we've got the UK, which allows terms of up to 5 years, so there is a bit of a mix out there.